بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه وآله وصحبه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious, and peace and prayers be upon His Messenger Muhammad. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، السيدات والسادة الكرام, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أسعدتم صباحا وأهلا ومرحبا بكم في ندوة حافلات النقل العام الرابعة للإتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا. Welcome to the 4th UITP Middle East and North Africa Bus Seminar. Our valued non-Arabic speaking guests, please make use of the simultaneous interpretation headsets provided by our hosts. Most probably these will be the last words in English. نرحب بكم في هذه الندوة التي تأتي تحت رعاية وزارة النقل بالمملكة العربية السعودية وبتنظيم الاتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا تحت عنوان كفاءة استهلاك الوقود والطاقة البديلة، الذي تسعد الشركة السعودية للنقل الجماعي سابتكو باستضافته. نستمع الآن لكلمة سعادة المهندس خالد الحقيل رئيس الاتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا UITP مينا والرئيس التنفيذي لشركة سابتكو، فرحبوا به إلى المنصة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله كفى، سلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. صاحب المعالي الدكتور ميح رميح، السيد ألان فلاوش، أصحاب العالي والسعادة، الأخوة والأخوات الأفاضل، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأسعد الله أوقاتكم بكل محبة ومودة. يسرنا هنا في الرياض أن نستضيف هذه الندوة تأتي الرابعة في سلسلة الندوات التي تقام عن الحافلات تحت إشراف ورعاية الاتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة هنا ضمن سلسلة من الندوات التي تقام تباعا وسراعا في إطار مواكبة التطور في الصناعي الذي يتابع رغبات المشرعين والمنظمات والهيئات في اتجاه إقامة بيئة مستدامة وحياة كريمة مليئة بالرفاهية التي أصبحت أحد مكوناتها استخدامات المواصلات العامة. بنبذة قصيرة عن الاتحاد العالمي الذي تأسس منذ 130 عاما في بروكسل عام 1185 ويضم في عضويته ما يقارب 18,000 عضو يمثلون 1400 منظمة ومؤسسة ومن المصنعين. يلتقون المشرعون من أصحاب المنظمات مع المصنعون مع المشغلون ضمن هذا الاتحاد ليصيغوا سياسة تطوير النقل العام الذي أصبح في حياتنا جزءا مهما ويعكس مدى رقينا في مدننا من خلال توفير هذه الوسائل. إلا أن توفير هذه الوسائل ليس في ذاتها عبارة عن توفير الحافلات أو القطارات بقدر ما يواكبه من عنوان هذه الندوة التي تتكلم عن كفاءة استهلاك الوقود الذي أصبح لزاما مع مواكبة الحياة اليومية والظروف الاقتصادية وطلاب البيئة ومتطلباتها إلى المدن الخضراء. أيضا في البدائل الطاقة اليوم أصبحت في تطور متسارع من الهايبرد إلى الهايبرد إلكتريك إلى فول إلكتريك والسي إن جي والطاقة الشمسية. كل ذلك الآن أصبح يدفع بإنتاجه ليواكب طلبات المشرعين. وفي هذا التواصل وفي هذا النسق تقام الآن في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا نهضة تنموية فيما يتعلق بالنقل العام وإنشاء الشبكات. ولعلنا نحن هنا ونرحب بكم في مدينة الرياض نتشرف باطلاعكم وزيارتكم لأكبر مشروع يقام في مشروع النقل العام على مستوى العالم، مع بعضه البعض في فترة قصيرة ومليء بكل التحديات التي بفضل الله وبفضل الإرادة القوية لإقامة مثل هذا المشروع التنموي الكبير بالاستعانة بكل الخبرات والتجارب التي تمت. نسعد باستضافة اليوم كواقعا وشاهدا على ما نصبو إليه في تطوير صناعة النقل العام وكيفية الاستخدام في الطاقة، بما يعني بتقليص تقليص ثاني أكسيد الكربون، باستخدام كل ما من شأنه إطالة عمر المحركات والاستفادة من الوقود بعائد أعلى وتكلفة أقل، حفاظا على البيئة جزء منه، وجزء من تشغيل اقتصادي نحو الأفضل. فما بالكم ونحن نحتضن في المملكة العربية السعودية الحرمين الشريفين الذي أحوج ما يكون إلى استخدامات الطاقة البديلة والتي فيها من تطور الصناعات. لا أطيل عليكم أكثر وأترك الكلمة لزميلي السيد ألان فلاوش الأمين العام للاتحاد الدولي، وأشكركم جزيلا على حضوركم ومشاركتنا. لعلنا نطلع نحن كمشرعين ومختصين بما يفيد إن شاء الله وضعه موضع التطبيق. شكرا جزيلا على حضوركم. نتشرف بكم اليوم عبر 3 جلسات رئيسية تضم حوالي 12 ورقة عمل فيها من خبرات ممن أتى من كل حدب والصوب ليشارككم في تجاربه ونستفيد جميعا إن شاء الله في عكسه واقعا ملموسا. شكرا لكم على حضوركم ومشاركتكم.
شكرا جزيلا سعادة المهندس خالد الحقيل. والكلمة الآن للسيد آلان فلاوش الأمين العام لاتحاد UITP. Please join me in welcoming him to the stage.
Good morning. Sorry, I can't speak in Arabic. My Arabic is very rusty, to say the least. And so English will be, as I know, a second language in this part of the world. Your Excellency, Dr. Romay, hello Romay. Your Excellency, Halit Halogai, CEO of SAPCO, Excellence Minister and Ambassadors, dear UITB members, dear colleagues and public transport professionals. It's of course for me a great pleasure to be here at this opening of the 4th UITP MENA, as we use Middle East North Africa bus seminar here in Riyadh. If we decided to come here, it's not by chance. It's just because we would like to recognize the efforts and the policy of the Saudi government for the development of public transport. As you all know, some years ago there was not much here except the excellent SAPCO. But now with this project to develop in a hurry, I would say, at least in a Chinese period of time, 6 line of metro, you're really becoming one of the best promoter of public transport in the world. And I think UITP is very proud to have SAPCO as a member and RRTP who is together with SAPCO running the bus system of the future. Large distances also for us a matter of great appreciation. Dr. Halogai just said some word about UITP, so I'm not going to repeat. I just want to, because I'm also here with a view to have other members to join us, people that are not yet member of UITP. I want to explain that basically, indeed, we were created more than 130 years ago. And at the beginning, the people that formed UITP were Trump people, Germans, French, and Belgian. And this with the support of the Kingdom of Belgium, Leopold II, who by that time was quite a visionary king, and who had understood, because he had some friends in the electric industry, and he had understood that electricity had no output at that time. Of course, there was general electricity in the cities, but also a good way to use electricity was tramway. And so with the people, the famous industrialist by the name of Ampin, they actually went all over the world with tramway. That's how it started. There's up to 70 tramway network before the beginning of the last century. Then, of course, early 20th century, then we had metro joining, then later the bus, and then today we have, car sharing, bike sharing, all the new mode of transportation. We decided that we would want to have authority with us because the role of authority is growing for the last year. And then we said, why don't we have industry? I know there is some representatives of the industry, and of course we want the industry to be there because we think that the supply chain needs to be collectively thinking about the future and developing the product that makes public transport attractive. We have our headquarters for historical reason because of the foundation in Brussels. We have our headquarters in Brussels, but today we have 16 offices, and we just opened an office in China, which is our next territory. The last one before China was the US. So today I think we can say we have a kind of a world footprint. Now what are we doing? Because it may be strange, what an association is doing this. Just remind you that public transport is generally a very local business. If you are in Riyadh, you're taking care of the Riyadh citizen and you have contact with the Riyadh government and the Riyadh municipality. So that means that generally you're living in a very secluded area. And from the very beginning, the people of public transport said, okay, but we need to know what's going on elsewhere. We need to compare. We need to be able to benchmark with the others. So one of the reasons of UITP is, of course, to create that huge network, which is kind of a way to prevent the monopolistic type of attitude where you're sitting on your own market and you don't care too much about what's going on and you do not make progress. So the first thing that we want to do is a network between the people of all over the world so that they can see what's happening elsewhere and eventually be inspired by this. In addition, for the industry, of course, it's creating opportunity of business. And for instance, the Middle East, when we created our first office in Dubai, many industrialists from Europe and the rest of the world came here, and they knew they could use it as a springboard to some extent to make business here. The second part is, of course, knowledge. We tend to believe that we can concentrate within UITP with our members all the best skills and best practice that we can have in terms of public transport. And I can tell you that, for instance, in the US, where actually I think the transit industry is not very much as advanced as it is in Asia and in Europe, I think we really can come with new ideas. You would come eventually to tell the Americans how to do something that they hardly know today. So there is this value of exchange between the different nations. And finally, and not the least, it's also advocacy. Public transport has to be promoted. And we're working with all the international organizations. For instance, I was very active in the climate change debate, which ended up with the signature of the Treaty of Paris. But I'm also working with the UN, I'm working with UN Habitat, I'm working with the Developing Bank, the World Bank. And this is always to push public transport as a major solution for a sustainable world. So you see, we have quite a lot of work on our table. And what we're using for this is a kind of a now very much adopted by the UN method of assessing what we should do. It's called the ASI method. A like avoiding, S like shifting, I as improving. Avoiding is all about how do we prevent useless mobility. One of the major issues is, of course, that every day in our cities, some people would use their car for less than 5 kilometers trip, whereas they could do it by biking, they could do it by public transport. So we want to make sure that our cities are built in such a way that you are not that far from your job, that you are not that far from your school, that your house is close to every activity that you can have, thereby preventing useless mobility. Land use and transport, his policies need to be combined as much as possible. And I know that here in Riyadh, where the city is sprawled over a huge territory, it could be an option is that from now on the authority would try to stop this urban sprawl and densify a bit the city. The second part, as I mentioned, was shifting. Shifting is all about our major battle, is how we push people to change their habits. It's the most difficult part, but for that we need to make public transport attractive. If you have a bus every hour, it's not attractive. So you need to have a bus as frequently as possible, that you don't have to walk too much. And of course, we know how good public transport is. In terms, for instance, of energy consumption, we are fantastically lower than the private car traffic. And in addition, you know, it may not be the case here, but in many cities of the world, we need space. Space is rare, it's like gold. And if space is too much utilized for car traffic with one passenger in the car, we're just wasting what is the most precious thing that we have in a city. So shifting is the second major pillar of our policy. And finally, it's of course about improving, and that's going to be the topic of here today, of our work today. It's trying to have buses and vehicles that are consuming as less as possible energy, and embracing the new technologies so as to. It's maybe a good question. You may wonder why here in Saudi Arabia, where we have cheap oil and abundant oil, why do we concentrate on this? I think your leader has been recently realizing that dependence on oil may not be the future for this country, and that really building some sort of other activities is of the essence. And also remember the climate change. I think we shouldn't realize this every year, but we had the hottest year forever in 2016, and we should do something. And of course, looking for alternative fuel, reduction of emission is really becoming critical. You know that clean buses, and we're feeling that in many countries, that for the population, having clean buses on the road is really making public transport, let's say, more attractive, more friendly, and it's attracting people because it's all about our city. What city do we want? Do we want a city for cars, or do we want a city for people? And so we know that it's a terrible challenge for us to go from the usual diesel bus to other kind of alternative fueled buses, but it is really the challenge that we as a community need to face. Okay, before concluding, because I was a bit too long eventually, I would like first to warmly thank the Minister of Transport and SAPCO for their support. It's obviously without them we couldn't do anything. And also some good thanks for our sponsors. There are sponsors here in the room. I want to mention, of course, ADA, which is one of the leading authority here, but also A.T. Kearney, Jufali, Daimler Middle East, Indra, our Spanish friends, and of course the public trans company, which is a joint venture between RRTP and SAPCO. And last but not least, I want also to thank in advance the speakers that will take their time to explain to us how to do it. And I hope you a very fruitful day. And if by the end of the day, those not members of UITP think that maybe it's interesting to come and be member of the club and discuss and learn from what we can exchange with each other, be our guest and join UITP. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Alan Flausch. والكلمة الآن للمتحدث الرئيسي بروغل دوتا MTA النقل العام لمدينة نيويورك الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية سيتحدث لنا عن لغز الوقود البديل. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Bruegel Dotta.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our very gracious and kind hosts, Saudi Ministry, as well as SAPCO. Thanks to UITP for this invitation. Thank you everyone for being here today. I have a lot of slides, so I'm going to cover ground very, very quickly. But I'm going to start where Alain just left it off, which is what is alternative fuel, and especially in where we are standing, what role does alternative fuel play? What are the question marks around it, and where this could be going? However, before absolutely anything, as a member of the public transportation community myself, being the Director of Sustainability at New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority, I want to say a word of appreciation for all of us here in the room. I think we are doing good work that will help the next generation, that will help the environment, and work that ought to expand. And in its expansion, I think whatever little there may be by way of insecurities about alternative fuels, etc., are more than overcome as the size of the pie grows larger, as more and more people in the world get out of cars and come into public transportation. Okay, so this is just a picture from New York and from where I am. So what are the big issues around alternative fuels, and why is it a conundrum? Does it reduce emissions, or does it merely displace emissions? Does it, for now, maybe displace emissions, but someday in the future can actually reduce emissions? What is the broader and bigger impact of public transportation on climate change? There is a big initial plant cost that will happen as we embrace alternate fuels. Where will that come? How will that be internalized? And then, of course, there are smaller issues of where alternative fuels, especially electric fuel, is it going to be wayside? Is it going to be on board, etc.? So there is, of course, a lot of literature. I won't go into this, but all I will say is it's not completely clear for now that, that electric vehicles are entirely good. And again, there is a lot of literature. You can see it out there. However, what I will start by focusing on is public transportation's general role in reducing emissions. So these are three countries that I'm looking at: China, Germany, and the US. And that yellow slice, that orange slice, 33%, 18%, and 11%, that's transportation's role in emissions. As you can see, in a country with much more driving, that transportation's role is much, much bigger. Now, we don't know what the absolute sizes are. This is just a comparative percentage. But once we start putting in the absolute numbers, in the US, per capita, energy consumption per annum is 300 gigajoules. In Germany, it's about half at 170. In Saudi Arabia, it's somewhere in the middle, about 260. And in China, it's 76. Now, these are all reasonably important figures because a country like Germany actually has the highest development indices. It's got the lowest infant mortality, highest life expectancy, etc. Yet they're doing it with a very small amount of energy consumption per capita. China is, of course, a huge, huge absolute number, but it's moving slowly in that direction. Saudi Arabia, a lot of that energy that you see, it comes from processing, of course, but in a per capita basis. And the US, which is a very, very car culture dominated, New York is an exception, but car culture dominated, that number is very, very high. Additionally, in the US, just to give you a comparison, if you look at the three most populous states, New York, Texas, and California, for that same number, you see Texas is very high on a per capita energy consumption for exactly the same reason. A lot of processing of fuel, but also a lot of driving. And if you looked at just the 5 boroughs of New York City, which is where I am, that number is actually smaller than even Germany. So as long as there is good public transportation, overall energy comes down, energy consumption comes down for the entire country, for the city, for the community. This is very important to remember. For us, the energy consumption from transportation for all of New York, including cars, is only 24%, which is much lower than the national average. This is just some data about us. We, as I said, are one of the largest. We serve about 18 million people, generate 3.5 billion trips each year, and our emission reduction, which I will come to in a second, is about 17 million metric tons. We have calculated, and this is something that I think all public transportation folks should do, and I would be happy to share subsequently at the end in a Q&A or later how we do it. But we, on a per trip basis, come up with an avoided emission number, which in our case is 10.5 pounds. And this we call transit avoided carbon. It comes from 3 key sources: land use, as Alain said, mode shift, going from a car to a public transportation, and then congestion relief. The fact that the network is now a little less loaded because some of the would-be drivers are in trains and buses. If you put it all together, you get our own emissions, subtract from our displaced emissions with the total transit avoided carbon. In the case of New York, we avoid about 17 million metric tons and put out only about 2 million. Again, there is a lot of underlying math to this, a lot of modeling. I can get to that later. Some of this information you can find at mta.info/sustainability. Okay, coming back now, quickly changing gears to all electric buses. Of course, they have zero emission. There is no tailpipe. They are very low noise. The propulsion system is very simple. The parts that can break down are few and far between. And the unit cost, which is currently the biggest hurdle, is also likely to come down as the number of units increase. On the flip side, they will impose a large electric load on the electric grid. There'll probably have to be a new kind of infrastructure for charging. There'll be a change in expertise. There'll be all sorts of issues of open source and proprietary protocols in terms of the various technologies. And there's also the element of resiliency. Just to give you some very quick numbers, in the US, so as Alain said, US is not at the forefront of a lot of public transportation, and this is true. US is much more a car-friendly country and culture, but from the part of the US where I come from, New York, this is not true. We are indeed very focused on public transportation, and most of that region is moved by us. So nonetheless, we are only at about 100 all-electric buses in all over the US, with another about 700 coming through. And just to give you a comparison, in China, one company alone has 2,000. So we are relatively still in catch-up mode, but it's like moving any giant beast around. Once that beast starts catching up, then the speed picks up. Anyway, so getting back to the MTA's own, we are currently planning to do 5 en route charging buses and 5 the deep cycle overnight charging buses. We looked at a bunch of possible routing arrangements in all the 5 boroughs of New York City and came up with the most prominent, as you would expect, on 42nd Street. Those of you that have been to New York and know New York well, this bus will pass through Times Square because, as Alain said, there is an element of advocacy to this. Not only should we be running a bus, we should be running it with great pride. We should be saying that we are running an electric bus and showing it to people and establishing that in a very forthright fashion, which is what we are hoping to do with M42. Also, to give you a sense of scale of how much power is consumed, to charge 80 buses overnight is the same amount of power as to run the Empire State Building. So these things consume a lot of power. This is kind of our vision going forward. As with any bus system, the bus's life is about 10 to 12 years, and so everything is in a step function. You go from 5 to 50 to 500 in that sort of a thing. Folks that are already ahead of us, this is Transport for London. They have converted 2 of their routes to completely electric, and this, of course, includes the retooling of the infrastructure there, the Waterloo's depot, where these buses are going to be charged overnight. China also, as I already said, is at the forefront of many of these things. This is an ultra-capacitor bus. But the old-fashioned buses that were drawing power from trolley lines above are also an option, and they're a good option in certain cases when you can run the wire, because one of the problems of electric vehicles is the amount of battery or capacitor that you have to carry on the bus, and in this old-fashioned system, you don't have to carry any capacity on the bus itself. There are other people doing interesting hybrids. This is from Vienna. They are using actually their tramway lines to charge and run the buses, so these kinds of systems are also possible. You have seen many examples of the inductive charging buses where the infrastructure is in the ground. There is no physical contact between the bus and the infrastructure, and it happens, the charging happens by induction. And then, of course, are the autonomous vehicles, so the self-driving buses, which are still in relatively smaller scale and smaller systems. But this is also something that our public transportation kind of system, fixed routes with points where you know the vehicle is going to stop, are actually, they lend themselves easier to alternative driving and alternative systems. It also, autonomy of this kind also allows much smaller scale granularity, which may be very, very applicable to, say, Riyadh, where the metro stops, the last mile solution could be an autonomous vehicle or a series of autonomous vehicles that just go from point A to, say, 2 or 3 kilometers down and come back. In the alternative fuel world, there is also, this is from Alain's hometown, or this is a Van Hool bus, which is running on fuel cell, made by Ballard. These things are a little more experimental right now, frankly, but they are there, and the proof of concept certainly is there. Alternative energy or electric buses also lend themselves, at least in an iconographic, in a symbolic way, to be self-sufficiency. So this is in Atlanta, MARTA. You see all those solar panels above. They are capturing solar power, and the buses, these are actually just normal fuel buses, but someday there is the potential that these alternative electric buses are charged from the roof solar PVs. And then, of course, transportation is a full spectrum. It's not just buses, trains, alternative fuels, but also the last mile is a very, very key thing, especially, I think, in the non-dense areas. Now, I know that in the summer heat of Riyadh, riding a bicycle may not be the most practical thing to do, but bicycles do provide a good last mile connection in many, many contexts. So I just want to leave you with a couple of slides which are somewhat humorous. This is from Australia, and someone has put this on the road. The bicycle runs on fat, saves you money. The other one runs on money, makes you fat. Anyway, so in conclusion, don't lose sight that the single largest impact of public transportation, and we really ought to be proud of this, every one of us in the room, our greatest impact is transit-avoided carbon. That in well-served public transportation communities, the emissions and energy consumption is much, much lower. The place, the city, the community, the region is greener. That's our single biggest impact. Yet, we have to embrace the future, and electric buses and autonomous vehicles are the future, and they too carry their own advantages. We have to be aware of the conundrum and the disadvantages too. And we have to embrace and offer up to our political masters, our regional authorities, our municipalities, the mayors, the governors, etc. We have to offer ourselves up willingly and happily as the guinea pigs and say, for the right kind of project, we would like to make our vehicles autonomous, electric, etc. So I think this offers a very good political opportunity, a very good messaging opportunity for all of us. So that's my presentation. I hope I didn't overshoot the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Dotta. والآن أيها الإخوة والأخوات الكرام، نستمع لكلمة راعي الندوة وزارة النقل يلقيها معالي الدكتور رميح بن محمد الرميح. رحبوا به إلى المنصة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، الأخوة الحضور، أسعد الله صباحكم جميعا بكل خير، ويسعدني أن أكون معكم نيابة وممثلا لمعالي وزير النقل سعادة الأستاذ سليمان بن عبد الله الحمدان، الذي يعتذر شخصيا من حضور هذه الندوة لظروف استجدت، ويتمنى لكم ندوة موفقة ولزوار الرياض زيارة سعيدة وممتعة. Your Excellency, Anne Fletcher, I would like to, Flauch, sorry. I would like to, dear guests, I would like to convey the welcome and apologies of His Excellency the Minister for not being able to be here due to change of plans. He wishes you all the best during this seminar and your stay in Riyadh. قبل أن أقرأ كلمة معالي الوزير أود أن أقول أني لست غريب عن النقل العام، فأنا عضو في اللجان التنفيذية لمشروع الرياض وجدة ومكة، وأيضا أنا رئيس للمؤسسة العامة للخطوط الحديدية التي تنقل البشر وتنقل البضائع. وأسعد وأفتخر حقيقة في ما يتم في مدينة الرياض من تقدم في المشروع، وإن شاء الله قريبا نقطف الثمر، ونتطلع أيضا لمشاريع النقل العام في باقي المدن في مكة وفي المدينة وفي جدة وفي حاضرة الدمام وباقي المدن المملكة العربية السعودية. في المؤسسة نحن نبني مشروع قطار الحرمين السريع. قطار الحرمين السريع يربط مكة بمدينة مرورا بجدة والرياض، جدة ورابغ، مدينة الملك عبد الله الاقتصادية. نستهدف نقل 60 مليون مسافر بالسنة. الارتباط مع النقل العام ما هو؟ محطة مكة على سبيل المثال، محطة ركاب مكة تبعد 4 كيلومتر عن الحرم المكي الشريف. مهم جدا أن يكون هناك نقل عام فعال لكي ينقل الملايين من الحجاج والمعتمرين والزوار. نفس الشيء ينطبق على المدينة المنورة وعلى جدة وعلى باقي المدن. لذلك النقل العام هو الميل الأخير المطلوب لكل مشاريع النقل. واسمحوا لي أن أقرأ كلمة معالي الوزير. أبدأ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، سعادة السيد ألان فلاوتش الأمين العام للإتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة، الأخوة الحضور، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. يسرني أن أرحب بكم جميعا في هذا اللقاء، متمنيا لكم طيب الإقامة والفائدة، كما أتمنى التوفيق والنجاح لأنشطتكم في هذه الندوة. بداية أود أن أهني مكتب الاتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا لتنظيمه ندوة حافلات النقل العام الرابعة للاتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة في الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا بعنوان كفاءة استهلاك الوقود والطاقة البديلة. الأخوة الحضور، أن انعقاد هذه الندوة يأتي والمملكة في عهد خادم الحرمين الشريفين الملك سلمان بن عبد العزيز يحفظه الله تخطو في كل يوم خطوة جديدة في سلم التنمية الشاملة بعزم ومثابرة وبحجم غير مسبوق، كما تأتي والمملكة تستشرف آفاق التحول من خلال برنامج التحول الوطني 2020 في إطار الرؤية الشاملة لخطة المملكة 2030، حيث أن قطاع النقل هو أحد الدعامات الأساسية كما تعلمون التي يرتكز عليها برنامج التحول الوطني ورؤية المملكة الشاملة في عملية التحول وتحقيق الأهداف الاستراتيجية التي تنظمها خطة المملكة 2030، بالتأكيد على الأهمية الاستراتيجية القصوى لقطاع النقل بكل أنشطته ومؤسساته في آن يقوم بالدور المفصلي في دعم مسيرة البناء والتحول الكبرى التي تستشرفها المملكة العربية السعودية من خلال رؤيتها وخطتها الاستراتيجية المملكة 2030. أيها الأخوة والأخوات، أن أنظمة النقل العام بمفهومها الأشمل والتي شرعت العديد من الدول في تنفيذها أثبتت أهميتها نظراً لدورها الهام في الحد من المشكلات السلبية التي تعيشها المدن النامية الكبرى كتزايد النمو السكاني والازدحام المروري والتلوث البيئي والبصري وتزايد معدلات امتلاك السيارات الخاصة وانعكاساتها السلبية على السكان والأنشطة الاقتصادية والتجارية والاجتماعية. وقد أولت حكومة المملكة هذا الجانب اهتماماً خاصاً تمثل بالموافقة على تنفيذ أنظمة للنقل العام في عدد من المدن الرئيسية في المملكة، حيث تولت وزارة النقل التنسيق مع الجهات المختصة لتنفيذ النقل العام في تلك المدن وتحديد مكوناتها بما يتناسب وخصائص وحجم كل مدينة واحتياجاتها. وكانت باكورة هذه المشروعات الكبرى البدء في تنفيذ مشروع النقل العام بمدينة الرياض، وسيتبعها بإذن الله تنفيذ مشروعات مماثلة لبقية المدن. وقبل أن أختم أود أن أتقدم بالشكر للإتحاد العالمي للمواصلات العامة وللسيد ألين فلاوتش شخصياً أمين عام الاتحاد، كما أود أن أشكر الأخ العزيز المهندس سعادة المهندس هذلول بن حسين الهذلول رئيس مجلس إدارة الشركة السعودية للنقل الجماعي، والمهندس سعادة المهندس خالد الحقيل مدير التنفيذي لسابتكو ورئيس قطاع الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا بالاتحاد وزملائهم في الشركة على المشاركة في تنظيم هذه الندوة. وكذلك الشكر موصول لجميع الرعاة والحضور الكرام. وفي الختام أكرر الترحيب بكم وأتمنى لزوارنا الأعزاء إقامة ممتعة في المملكة العربية السعودية، وأهلا وسهلا بكم جميعا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
شكرا جزيلا معالي الدكتور. والآن من أجل مراسم التكريم نتشرف بدعوة معاليكم لتكريم الرعاة. نبدأ بالجهة المستضيفة، الشركة السعودية للنقل الجماعي، ويستلمها سعادة المهندس هذلول الهذلول رئيس مجلس الإدارة. والشريك الاستراتيجي، الهيئة العليا لتطوير مدينة الرياض، والمهندس عبد الرحمن الشعلان. ومن الشركات الراعية نبدأ بAT كارني والمستر سالفادور زاراتي. وأيضا من الشركات الراعية شركة إندرا، مستر خوزيه إنريكي بيريز. ومن الشركات الراعية أيضا الجفالي وسعادة الأستاذ أمجد حداد. ومن الشركات الراعية أيضا شركة مرسيدس والأستاذ شريف ثروت. ومن الشركات الراعية أيضا الشركة السعودية الفرنسية للمواصلات العامة PTC، سعادة المهندس خالد الحكيل رئيس مجلس الإدارة. والمتحدث الرئيسي MTA New York City Transit Mr. Projal Dotta, the keynote speaker. كما يتقدم كل من السيد آلان كلاوش والمهندس خالد الحكيل بجزيل الشكر لوزارة النقل لرعايتها هذه الندوة، ويتشرفان بتقديم درع تذكاري يستلمه معالي الدكتور ميح الرميح.